All right, why don't we go ahead and get started now? Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen King, and I'm the Clean Energy Advocate with Environment California. Um, and I want to thank you all for being here. Today, we'll discuss the findings of solar power alongside California's highways, which is a new report by Environment California Research and Policy Center and the RAY that looks at the potential for solar power along highways in 3 Southern California counties. Now, Environment California is a statewide advocacy group that works for clean air and clean water, clean energy, wildlife, open spaces, and a livable climate. Environment California Research and Policy Center provides public education and research on these same issues. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by 2 great speakers. First, I'll provide some background and go over the report's findings. Then David Peters, Western Regional Manager with the RAY, will describe the analysis in more detail. And finally, California State Senator Josh Becker will provide remarks about California's opportunity to tap into this clean energy potential. We'll finish off with a brief question and answer section at the end. California has long been a leader in renewable energy and solar power. However, the state still needs to triple the amount of solar power capacity it builds to meet its crucial 100% clean energy requirement by 2045. Solar panels allow us to generate much needed clean, renewable energy from the sun's abundant rays, and we need more solar than ever. Now, states are increasingly looking to their rights of way or the state-controlled land along highways as prime areas for solar. Putting solar infrastructure along highways has many benefits, one being that the state already controls all this idle land, which reduces conflicts and makes it easier to lease or develop sites for solar. Because these areas are often near existing transmission lines, panels can be built quickly along highways in comparison to large utility-scale solar projects. And these panels can also boost energy reliability, especially when extreme heat waves strain our electric grid. And when paired with battery storage systems, these installations can continue providing clean energy to the grid even after the sun sets. Now, solar along highways presents an opportunity for California to generate revenue from lease payments and electricity generation, while potentially saving money by reducing ongoing roadside maintenance expenses. And this is because solar developers can take on the responsibility of site maintenance for these installations. And this is a proven solution. States like Oregon, Georgia, Maine, and several others have already pioneered solar highway projects. And California can be the first state to make a comprehensive strategy for solar along highways if it passes SB 49 in the coming weeks. The Federal Highway Administration issued guidance in 2021 encouraging states to use rights of way to generate renewable energy. And the Biden administration even called this idea a net zero game changer to help reach the country's climate goals. And this report and SB 49 reveal a huge opportunity California has to go solar. They show that we can find already disturbed places to help meet our clean energy needs. But just think about the solar potential in other areas too, like parking lots, warehouses, superstores, and more. In fact, Environment California Research and Policy Center has reports showing that putting solar on all the rooftops of California's superstores and warehouses together could generate enough clean energy to power over 5.8 million homes each year. We hope that this report and this bill unlock new thinking about some of the best places to put solar power. And now on to the findings of the report. The RAY's solar analysis identified more than 4,800 acres of land alongside highways in Los Angeles, Ventura, and San Diego counties that are suitable for solar panels. If panels were installed on all of this land, they would add nearly 1 gigawatt of clean energy capacity and produce enough electricity to power more than 270,000 homes each year. This huge solar potential along highways suggests that California can make great strides towards its clean energy goals by utilizing these areas statewide. Now, next, I'll let David Peters, Western Regional Manager with the RAY, elaborate a bit more on this new analysis.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I'm David Peters. I'm the Western Regional Manager at the RAY. The Ray is a nonprofit based in Georgia. We've done this kind of work for several states. We work nationwide with a number of states on solar, among other projects, particularly in the analysis realm, like this, as you can see here, this example in Ventura and Los Angeles. So I'm just going to dive a little bit into how the methodology works, so you all can get a better understanding. So we start out with publicly available right-of-way data, along with information on street center line and road width for the roadways within a particular county, or if you're working with DOT, it might be a district if it's available. So once we have that information as a layer in our GIS tool, then what we do is our first analysis in a 3-step process. And this is an inclusion and exclusion analysis. We have about 12 standard criteria that we include in the analysis to narrow down what land is available. So think of things like national parks you want to be outside of. You want to be outside of high-risk floodplain zones. You also want to be outside of the roadway safety clear zones along the roadway. There's a number of others, but we implement these to help us refine the list of available parcels for the space for the solar right-of-way. So once we go through that criteria and the list is narrowed down of what parcels can be used for solar right-of-way, then we do what's called a solar suitability analysis. And the solar suitability analysis looks at all those remaining parcels and assigns them a suitability score based on 3 main criteria, and that's solar radiation, aspect, and slope. And these criteria are really important for determining solar production potential. It's essentially what's the elevation, what's the pitch of the slope, where that roadside is, along with what's the radiation potential, how much of the sun's solar energy is actually hitting that spot. So as you can see in this map here, right, there's everything from red to dark green listed at some point. And that's the outcome of the solar suitability score. It ranks all the remaining parcels on a scale of 10 on how suitable they are for solar development. So as Stephen said, there's a lot of acres that could be developed. And then what the suitability score does is helps refine what are some of the better parcels to start looking at first. So you'd see a lot of those dark green spots along the right of way here, and those would be areas you'd likely want to start start with when you're thinking about building out roadside solar. And then from there, as you saw earlier, we can actually 3D model what the sites would look like. And so Stephen had a few examples of those earlier, and that's just one, it helps visualize what the site would look like once solar panels were built. And then additionally, it actually gives us more accurate information on the energy potential and capacity for a specific site. And so this is the suitability score or suitability analysis for Los Angeles and Ventura counties. And then if you just go to the next slide, this is just showing the post exclusion inclusion analysis for San Diego County. So this shows, what sites are available once we've gone through that first step in the analysis process. And so that's the methodology here. And as I mentioned, we've worked in a number of states on this. We've really refined the process and are pretty proud of what we're able to do here. And we were really happy to be able to work with Environment California on this report. So I think I will turn it over to the senator now, if not back to Stephen first, but really excited for this report and glad to be part of the process here.
Thanks, David. Yeah, go ahead, Senator Becker.
Well, thanks. This is a really exciting moment because when we started working on this, we knew the capacity was going to be large. And we knew this was a big idea and an underutilized resource, but we didn't really know how big it would actually be. So this report and the launch of this report and this event today is really the first glimpse we've gotten at how big this resource can be. And as we all know, we want more solar, of course. I think you said triple the amount we've ever built to date. So we need about another 100 gigawatts, which is just a massive amount. And the question is, where are we going to situate all that? We just, unfortunately, in my mind, we disincentivized rooftop solar with the NEM 3. And in other areas we build solar, we have a hard time getting the transmission we need from those areas. So this idea of doing solar around the right-of-ways kind of came up in the context while I started to work on this bill. And now we're seeing the real potential of it, just as we near the finish line, hopefully, of the legislative session to get it passed. So this is land the state already owns along highways, land that isn't being used for anything else right now. And the analysis just, again, shows how big it is, almost a gigawatt in just a few counties. And that means many gigawatts statewide if this bill passes and if we utilize this land. So this makes it real and says, why aren't we doing this? Really raises the question, why would we not do this? Let's just put it that way. People are already starting to build solar in the right of ways in other states. And it's a moneymaker. This state will actually get revenue from using this unused land. So my bill, SB 49, would get California going on making use of this land. In fact, the first step of my bill is for Caltrans to do an analysis statewide, building on this work to determine where there are appropriate places to build solar and then set goals for getting it built. And they'll be able to leverage the expertise that these researchers have and have shown here today. Again, we're also going to need a lot more charging stations among highways as we decarbonize not only passenger vehicles, but starting next year with trucks as well. So this would be a convenient source of clean power for charging EVs, because we know it's been difficult to site and get these charging stations up and running. You also identified a lot of locations within urban areas. So that's more solar closer to where we're going to use that energy. That means fewer transmission lines need to be built. I hope the legislature will act in the next couple of weeks to pass SB 49 and that the governor will sign it. And I want to thank our partners on this and everyone for all the work done here today.
All right. Thanks so much for your remarks, Senator Becker, and David also. Next up, I just wanted to open it up really briefly for a few minutes if anyone has any questions about the new report or SB 49 or anything we've discussed today. Please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A function or the chat function, whichever one works for you. I do see one question asking if there will be higher resolution versions of these graphics available and getting the slides by email. I included the link to the report in the chat box if you're able to access that. But we can also check on getting higher resolution versions of the graphics as well, and should be able to share these slides too for anyone who's interested. So yeah, we can get those to you.
Laura's telling everyone how to take action to support the bill.
Yes. Yes, if you check out the chat box, you'll see a link to Environment California's action where you can contact your state legislators and asking them to support SB 49, this critical piece of legislation here for solar along highways. So check that out when you get a chance. All right. And if there are no more questions, if you think of any more, please feel free to reach out to myself or David or Senator Becker. I have my contact info and David's info on this slide here. And want to thank everyone for joining today. Please, like I said, reach out with any questions. And just wanted to highlight that this new analysis of LA, Ventura, and San Diego counties suggests that California is primed to take a monumental step towards sustainability by going solar along its highway system. Leveraging these untapped areas can generate significant amounts of clean energy, as we've gotten a glimpse of, not to mention the potential solar generation of California's other 55 counties. So this is really just scratching the surface of what's possible here. Let's pass SB 49 this summer and drive towards a future powered by clean solar energy. Thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen, it looks like there are a couple new questions that just came in, if you want to tackle those. So the first one is, can you say anything about the solar potential in the San Francisco Bay Area, especially Santa Clara?
I can take a stab at that one. So, you know, we can't really say anything about it yet. We haven't done an analysis for those counties yet, but we're working on looking at the data for that area. So no specifics yet, but we're hoping to work on that information soon.
Thank you, David. And I see another question really quick. We can address that too. It's asking, did Georgia, Oregon, and Maine pass legislation? Why does California need legislation to do this? So no state has passed, legislation similar to this yet. So far, the different case studies that are highlighted in the report, these have been like relatively isolated solar projects in different areas, but no state has really undertaken any sort of comprehensive strategy or making a strategic plan to really comprehensively utilize these areas and assess the potential of solar along highways. So this is really something kind of, big and new and exciting that California is looking at. And it could really help chart the path forward, both within the state and potentially, at the national level too, in utilizing these areas for renewable energy. And yeah, the purpose of the legislation is to really make this plan and really kind of get this process kickstarted. But yeah, that's hopefully that answers your question. All right, and yeah, we can answer this one more question here. We also have, what states do you think are next? David, maybe you can kind of address that, because I know the Ray works in several different states on this issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could really answer what's next. I mean, it'll depend on the appetite of, a state DOT or the lead agency to look at it. But, as we mentioned, we've worked in a number of states, at least to help with the analysis to begin the process. So states like Maine, states like Colorado, we've worked with, I'm not going to be able to name them all off my head, but a lot of states are interested, and particularly as there's both funding, substantial funding from the federal side, matched with state funding for investment in renewable energy. That certainly has helped move the idea along in a number of states. But I don't think I could pick one out and say they'll be the next. I think there are a lot of states looking in that direction, acknowledging that the rights of way are a viable use for not just solar, but, as was mentioned, there's a need for transmission. And so there's a whole lot of interest in looking at utilizing right-of-way space for transmission, broadband, a number of other important infrastructure pieces as well. So, I think there's a lot of good ideas in the states right now that are heading toward utilizing that space.
Absolutely, yeah, and we're hoping this this idea becomes a lot more common in the near future, so we can get more solar, not just in California, but everywhere where it's needed. Thank you for your input there, David. Looks like to me that is the last of our questions. So yeah, again, wanted to thank everyone so much for showing up, and please feel free to reach out to either one of us for any follow-up questions or more information. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.